Hello and welcome to Digital Farm TV Rural News. I'm Andy Walker. At the midpoint of the high-risk Flystrike season, with heavy rains both behind and ahead of us, it's critical that sheep producers remain vigilant and have a Flystrike management plan ready to go, according to CEO of the Animal Health Alliance, Dr. Peter Holdsworth. Each year, Flystrike costs the industry $280 million in treatment and lost production, which is why it was so important for producers to stay on the front foot. Wet weather and moderate to hot temperatures, above 17 degrees Celsius, provided the perfect conditions for flies to lay eggs. These eggs hatched into larvae and fed on the animal's flesh. Management strategies would vary depending on where the farm was located and the severity of the outbreak, according to New South Wales Department of Primary Industries Principal Research Scientist, Dr. Gary Levitt. In a move that has angered farmers and landholders, the federal government has extended its cost-cutting to native title hearings, with a decision to cease funding respondents in native title claims from next year. The National Farmers Federation has called on the government to review the decision to ensure respondents had equal access to justice as claimants in the native title process. Farmers have been willing participants in native title claims and settlements since 1996, under a system that, to date, had ensured both the claimant and the respondent had fair and equal access to assistance and legal representation, NFF President Jog Laurie said. However, the decision by the government means that from the 1st of January, only native title claimants would receive government support in having their claims heard. Grain growers have been urged to ensure that grain retained for seed this harvest was properly cleaned, with research showing producers tended to severely underestimate weed seed contamination. A study on 74 farms across the Western Australian grain belt showed 73% of cleaned crop seed samples had some level of contamination. The research confirmed that many farmers unknowingly introduced substantial levels of weed and volunteer crop seeds even when crop seed had been cleaned, AHRI senior researcher Michelle Owen said. Furthermore, the 2010 results showed that many of these weed seed populations were resistant to a range of commonly used post-emergent herbicides, indicating that farmers were unknowingly seeding herbicide resistance directly into their paddocks. More on weeds. The practice of burning windrows to destroy weed seeds is widely used in Western Australia, but remains unproven in the east. Grain Arana Alliance CEO Maury Street has set out to change that. With his own on-farm trial in New South Wales Central West, Maury Street runs the Grains Research and Development Corporation funded alliance and is well aware of the difficult issue of herbicide resistance. He said if he and other growers were to retain no-till farming systems, they would need to look further than chemical solutions to manage difficult to control and herbicide resistance weeds. Maury Street said he had concerns about herbicide resistance and was attracted to the concept of windrow burning. It was relatively cheap, easy to set up, and had shown really good results in Western Australia. Food industry expert Mr. Jeff Starr has been appointed as a Specialist Director of Australian Pork Limited, APL, for an initial 3-year term following the retirement of Professor Robert van Barneveld. APL said Mr. Starr had an impressive pedigree with a background in marketing and the food industry, and he brought a wealth of knowledge to APL. Most recently, Mr. Starr was Chief Executive of George Weston Foods. He was also a past chairman and board member of the Australian Food and Grocery Council and had broad experience with building consumer markets in Australia, Asia and Europe through senior positions held with Mars Inc and Unilever Australia. The chair of the APL board, John Coward, took the opportunity at the recent annual general meeting held in Melbourne to thank Professor van Barneveld for the enormous contribution he had made to the industry during the past 8 years. Finally this week, volatility in agri-commodity prices looks set to continue into 2013, according to a report from Rabobank. This would be particularly true for grain and oilseed markets, with a supply squeeze in the first 6 months expected to push prices higher before an expected production rebound led to weaker prices in the second half of the year. The report said soy meal was the commodity most likely to show the largest price decline by the end of 2013. By contrast, analysts expected palm oil to be the strongest performer as Chinese imports and biofuel demand drove prices higher. Grain and oilseed prices, corn, wheat and soy were forecast to rally in the first managed demand. Well, that's it for Digital Farm TV Rural News this week. I'll look forward to your company again next week. I'm Andy Walker.